We'll call the meeting of the New York State Cemetery Board to order, or it's our January meeting. I have my only opening comment is that Jill Faber from the Attorney General's office is unable to attend. And so we have a quorum, but it's the quorum of two. I'm Mark Pattison. I represent Secretary of State Robert Rodriguez.
I'm Thomas Fuller, representing Dr. James McDonald for the Department of Health.
No other opening remarks I'm aware of. We are going to go into executive session at some point early in the meeting or during the conversations. But that we'll come back out of that and complete any other work that needs to be done. So the next order of business is to approve the minutes of previous meetings. Does anybody have any comments, suggestions, or concerns about the minutes as distributed?
None here.
I had none. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the previous meeting.
I'll second that.
No? All in favor, aye. We're joined by our counsel. Do you have any additional comments on the legislation or regulation other than what you mailed or distributed?
So I distributed a legislative report to the cemetery board prior to the meeting. I did want to highlight one bill that has been signed into law. It's A 1477/S 490. The governor signed it into law on December 22nd, and in association with that, also issued an approval memo in which she highlighted that some technical amendments were needed, and through an agreement with the legislature, those technical amendments would be made. Those technical amendments are reflected in S 8075, A 8551, which was just introduced.
Let me just interrupt, Rob. Remind people that if you're not speaking, to put your phone on or your device on mute. We are hearing somebody with background noise. Appreciate it if you just check and.
Somebody in a 585 area code.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So anything else, Rob, to report?
Do either of you have any questions about that legislation or any other legislation on the legislative report? Hearing none, I'll just go into rulemaking. We continue to assess the public comments we received from proposed rules for natural organic reduction. And in addition, DOS will be publishing its regulatory agenda for the year. In response to the aforementioned legislation, which includes imminent danger of abandonment as a new standard, the division and I are considering rulemaking in relation to defining standards for imminent danger. And other than that, the regulatory agenda remains the same as last year.
Any questions, Tom?
No questions.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. Division report?
Sure. So I distributed before the meeting a update on abandonment, on cemeteries at risk of abandonment, and voluntary conveyances. For the purposes of this report, I took out all of the old information, included only those instances where there are updates. There are 3 cemeteries that in the last quarter, we had no abandonments in the last quarter, but there were 3 cemeteries in the last quarter that were voluntarily conveyed to towns, one in Niagara, one in Wayne, one in Wyoming County. All of these have been pretty much in the works and anticipated. The only question was, would they hang in there to be abandoned or would they voluntarily convey? And that's been resolved. They're starting with my next report. I'm going to include everything again, and then for the rest of the year, just do updates, so that we have, for each year, we have one complete report and then one that just updates it. I know that makes you refer back to the previous document, but at the same time, they're just getting long and it's too much to read the same thing over and over again. In terms of staffing, we have no updates. We're still fully staffed as we were last month. I also just got late breaking news yesterday that 3 of our staff members are going to be traveling to Tacoma for a conference in natural organic production. They will be, Tom, you and I should talk about this offline because you might want to participate virtually. There is a virtual option. There is one of the natural organic production facilities has scheduled what it's characterizing as a body composting conference. This particular facility, terramation. Are they the ones who call it terramation or body composting? I think they're the ones who call it terramation, so it's a terramation conference. Regardless, it seems fairly similar to the body composting conference a couple of us attended virtually last March. The reason we have staff going in person is that will give them the opportunity to see at least one, and hopefully more than one, of the natural organic production facilities in person. There is a tour associated with the conference of one of the facilities, Return Home, that there is no virtual component to the tour. Combination of that's hard to do, and I suspect they're also protecting their intellectual property. All of these places are proprietary in nature as to their technology. It's all purpose built. So there'll also be some staff members who are going to be attending virtually, and obviously we anticipate that once we have natural organic reduction regulations, we anticipate somebody's going to want to do it here in New York. So we at least somebody, and we're going to need to be prepared to regulate it. So that's more or less what's going on. I wanted to, Alicia, do you want to mention Bernie, or do you want me to do it? I mean, you know him more than I did.
Yeah, we were informed last week that longtime president of Vale Cemetery, Bernie McAvoy, had passed away. Dr. McAvoy. He really did a wonderful job at that cemetery. He revived it. It was on the brink of disaster, and he just really stepped up, got lots of grants, did fabulous work.
I would commend anybody interested, and even if you don't think you're interested, to Google his obituary, because having read it, he seems to have led 3 very productive and successful lives before becoming a doctor, as a doctor in private, before becoming as a medical professor, as a doctor in private practice, and as essentially the savior of Vale Cemetery.
Yeah.
Scott, they do have a succession plan in place for now, which we were concerned about, but they also have big shoes to fill there.
Well, thank you, more than passing, take note. Okay, anything else from you, Louis?
I guess technically the annual report stats are part of the division report, so I'll let Alicia do those.
I don't have those.
Oh, you don't have those? Well, we won't do those this month.
How about the annual report tutorial?
Oh, annual report, thank you. Annual report tutorials, that's what I was reminded to do before, and of course I already forgot. So, we will be hosting a tutorial on our annual report form, which for most cemeteries is due by March 31st. Actually, I think technically March 30th this year, but if you get it on March 31st, that's fine. So we're going to be doing this. This is going to be live streamed. Our anticipation is at the completion of at least 2 of them. Maybe we'll wait till all 3. It depends on how they go. We will do a recording of the live stream and make that available as well. We just at least want to run the first 2 to see which of those 2 we like better. The first one is this Thursday at 10 a.m. It's scheduled for 2 hours. The next one is Thursday, February 8th from 1 to 3. And I know we've already gotten questions from the public about people who are concerned about being able to do this because they work during the day. And the third session on March 14th will be from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. If you go to our website, so we are asking people, if you can, to RSVP, but if you don't RSVP, you can just join the meeting. I will read the website to everybody just so you can find it. It's D as in David, O as in Oscar, S as in Sam, .ny.gov/cemeteries-101. It's part of our Cemetery 101 piece of our website, and then there'll be a tab on the left for annual financial report tutorials. You can click right there to join the meeting. Again, we prefer if people RSVP. If you do that, your RSVP goes to cemeteries, plural, at dos.ny.gov. That's our general mailbox for everything. We encourage any treasurers or preparers of these forms to jump on one of these, because the forms are not always filled out correctly. They are very important to us, and they help. We, generally speaking, like most of the things we do, we use these forms to help us help you. If we understand your financial position better, we're in a better position to figure out what assistance, technical assistance, or resources you might need. So again, encourage everybody to do that. We do have a Cemetery 101, I mentioned this last month, scheduled for March 7th in St. Agnes's Cemetery in Menands. We have leads on scheduling another one in New York City, one in Westchester County and one in Orange County.
Essex County too.
And in Essex County. We don't have firm dates and times for those yet. When they are, that same web address I gave, there's another tab there for Cemetery 101, and they'll all appear there. I'll also remind people that the Cemetery 101 PowerPoint materials are actually now on our website for you to review if you want to.
Okay.
And now we're up to the vandalism report.
Well, thank you, and again, I'm happy to hear our outreach and training, always open to feedback from people about how that works and ways to improve it. So please feel free to contact us.
We will have a feedback form.
Right, thank you for mentioning that. We have a feedback form. It will in fact be right here on the website where you sign up, so you can click on it, and or where you join the meeting, so you can click on it and give us feedback.
Great. Vandalism report?
Yeah, so we have paid out cash a little over $1 million so far this fiscal year. All of the money, if we pay out what's due on 75% of final payments on applications due, and we approve everything that's on the agenda today and what's in the pipeline, we will overspend.
Except that we won't overspend
We
because
won't.
all the money won't be spent.
It's all a timing difference, but the $2 million is needed, definitely, but it's a timing thing as far as actual cash going out the door.
One thing I'll say sorry, you go ahead, Mark.
No, it's just, that's good to know. There's a reason that it's there. We're glad that it's being accessed and used to maintain cemeteries and repair vandalism, though there's little of that, thank goodness, and to help with towns as they get one-time costs for cemeteries that are abandoned to them. So that's a good thing, and seems to be working.
Actually, I'll add two things. One thing I will add, which is just a general interest, is we've had 4 applications in the past 2 or 3 months that had to be tabled because the legal notices that ran in the paper to let people know that it's required by statute to let people know that the cemetery is prepared to repair their monuments and gives them a chance to repair them themselves. We're not in accordance with the statute. The biggest issue has to do with the dates on them. I'm not going to try to explain this right here. What I will tell you is if you are going to put in for a hazardous monument application, number 1, please show us the actual copy of the ad you plan to submit to your local newspaper, assuming you are giving notice by publication, which almost everybody does. And number 2, Rob probably wants me to point out that you only give notification by publication if you don't have contact information. You have no other way of contacting the lot owners. But the other thing is, so show us the copy of that before you run it, and we can make sure that it looks. We are working on new models to give, like new samples to give out to people, but the samples are only so good as what people do with them. So seeing your actual copy and not changing that copy after we've seen it are critical things. The other thing I will mention is that we are now in a slightly different world for abandonment applications. The statute does allow for applications for imminent danger of for towns that take or cemeteries that are where the cemetery that's subject to the application is in imminent danger of abandonment. Before any town or other cemetery decides to go and try to put in such an application, please contact us. The third thing that I wanted to mention, is that we, division staff, visited 2 of the 3 cemeteries in Clarkstown, which is in Rockland County, that were the subject of legislation clarifying that they can seek abandonment funds. We have preliminarily identified some things at those that we would recommend approval of, and are working with the cemeteries with the town to help them, to guide them in putting together applications for funds for those 2 cemeteries. One of which is going to be substantial, the other of which looks more like the kind of application we typically see.
Okay. Tom, any questions to the Lewis report? Thank you, Lewis. Thank you, Alicia, for the vandalism report. So let's move to applications. We have 1 application for dangerous monuments from Lakeview Cemetery. There's for 34 monuments to be repaired at the cost in Seneca County at the cost of $46,444. Can someone present that to the board?
This is Mike Seelman from the division. The Lakeview Cemetery is a small rural cemetery in the town of Covert, Seneca County. They submitted their first application for repair of hazardous monuments, and they had marked 34 monuments that they felt were hazardous. I visited the cemetery and found all 34 monuments did appear to be hazardous. Either they were loose or they were tipping. The most recent of those monuments is dated 1925. Cemetery stated they don't have lot owner information going back that far. But they did run a legal notice once a week for 3 weeks in the shopper, and they had no response to that legal notice. It's the division's understanding that the cemetery has determined that the lot owners cannot be located. They provided 2 estimates for repairs. One of them was from Seneca Memorials. They bid $46,315 to reset 34 monuments with concrete foundations to a depth of 48 inches. They offer a 20-year warranty. The other bid was higher. It was from DC Masonry for $59,636 for the same 34 monuments. They were providing 42-inch foundations, and they offered a 15-year warranty. Cemetery's up to date on annual reports and their vandalism payments, and the division recommends approval in the amount of $46,444.
Thank you, Mike. Council?
No comments from council, other than if the board does approve the application, please make the application subject to the availability of funds.
Okay. Any other questions? So I'll make a motion to approve the application of Lakeview Cemetery in Seneca County for vandalism funds in the amount of $46,444, subject to availability of funds. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Application is approved. Going to move to other business. Waterville Cemetery. It's a land purchase and demolition application. Is that? I'll let you just tell me what these is.
Mike Seelman again.
This is Mike again. Waterville Cemetery is a small rural cemetery. It's located within the village of Waterville in Oneida County. It's a 7-acre cemetery. It's noteworthy that they have a crematory. They've got a historic stone chapel building that was the original crematory, I think dating back to 1880s. And then they have a modern building that has 2 retorts in it. And they're quite active. There is a distressed house that's actually been condemned by the village, located directly, I believe it's north of the cemetery entrance. And the cemetery would like to purchase this house and demolish it and move the existing fence to the far side of the property line and create green space, get rid of the eyesore of this distressed house in the near term, and then in the long term, create up to 150 graves. The lot, the size of the lot is 14,300 square feet, roughly a third of an acre. The cemetery wishes to purchase the property for $20,000. They have a appraisal that supports that price. They provided a estimate to demolish the building. What they're going to be doing is anything that's above ground, which would be the building itself, the wood and the shingles and all of that, will be demolished and taken off site. And then the anything that's below ground, which would basically be the foundation walls and whatnot, will be pushed into the foundation and buried to a depth of 2 feet. And then it'll become a green space. They'll move the fence over. If they do sell, if they do create 150 graves, their current grave price is $500. So the total cost of this purchase and renovation would be, let's see, $61,200. And if they were to sell those 150 graves, they would get $67,500. The division has recommended approval of this land purchase and major renovation.
Let me just add, and then you can ask questions of both of us, that we reviewed this as an unlisted action pursuant to seeker. We have a environmental assessment form from the cemetery. We reviewed that. Our recommendation is that to issue a negative declaration. In this case, I've been telling people until I blew in the face that cemetery use is a form of land preservation. This perhaps is the absolute clearest case of this ever, because the entire point of, eventually they might use this for burial space, but the entire point of this transaction is to get rid of an eyesore and create green space as part of the frontage of the cemetery. The house in question looks like it's right at the entrance to the cemetery. If you were looking at the entrance, you might think that was the caretaker's cottage and part of the cemetery property to begin with. So getting rid of this house and opening up the green space is not going to change the neighborhood in any way, shape, or form. And we'll create a little bit of open green land for perpetuity.
All right. And there are no objections have been raised to the project, right?
There's no notice requirement for something like this, but we haven't heard anything.
I should add that there's no required change to the zoning. It's zoned as residential, but that's fine for cemetery uses in the Village of Water.
But again, they're not actually going to use it yet, so they're not developing it for graves.
They're not in need of any additional.
Not right now.
Right now. And if they do, they will.
Although it looks like if they had a market, this might actually be an area that would sell well because it's got easy road access.
Right. But at that time, they would come back to us.
If what they needed to do to develop the land was in fact a major alteration,
Right.
they'd come back to us. It's not clear that it would be. It's not clear that it wouldn't be.
Okay. And how are they financing it?
General funds that get the money.
Okay. That was my question.
The crematory keeps the roof on their
Yeah.
heads.
Okay. Council, any comments or advice,
You left me with like just one.
wisdom?
None of that here. The purchase price of $20,000 is in accordance with the appraisal of $20,000, and here we asked the cemetery to just get one appraisal rather than our typical two because of the small dollar amount. I just wanted to highlight that. And then I have a prepared proposed resolution for the board that addressing the seeker issues, addressing that, the board finds that the $20,000 amount, does not exceed the fair and reasonable value. I can read it out loud whenever you're ready.
Well, I think we're ready.
Okay.
Right, any questions? Are we ready to go? Go ahead, thank you.
Okay, the New York State Cemetery Board has reviewed the materials submitted by Waterville Cemetery Association number 33-068 to purchase an approximately 14,300 square foot residential property and demolish a single family home on it. The board has reviewed Waterville Cemetery Association's application in accordance with the Not-for-Profit Corporation Law Article 15, the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEEKR, and their implementing regulations, and hereby resolves that the board's determination on this application is subject to SEEKR and its implementing regulations. Pursuant to SEEKR, the board classifies the application as an unlisted action and elects to proceed in an uncoordinated review. The board adopts the draft environmental assessment form and makes a negative declaration. The board authorizes Chairperson Pedersen to sign the environmental assessment form on behalf of the board. The board finds that the proposed purchase price does not exceed the fair and reasonable market value of the property. The board approves Waterville Cemetery Association's application to purchase a 14,300 square foot residential property for $20,000 paid through its general fund in accordance with its application. And the board approves Waterville Cemetery Association's application pursuant to 19 NYS 201.6 to demolish a single family home on the purchased property for $41,200 paid for through its general fund in accordance with its application.
As it, like you said, do I have a second?
You want to see it?
So that's the motion.
That's the motion.
That's the motion. I second it.
All right, then, no offense to past chair, board members, and staff, but we've come a long way. Resolutions all prepared by council.
21.16.
Wow.
16.
You missed the one.
So did you.
Yes, I did.
All
I
right.
did it.
What
I didn't see it until you read it.
Pursuant to 19 NYCR 201.16, major alteration reg.
Wow.
Missed a digit.
All right,
All right,
so
so
we have a motion on the table, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
So I can't read, but at least I can listen.
The application
You're ahead of me.
of Waterville Cemetery is approved. We have two applications for mergers from Forest Lawn Cemetery Group and others we want to go into.
So prior to hearing those, I would ask the board move into a meeting exempt from the open meetings law pursuant to section 108, subsection 3, for the purposes of receiving confidential advice of counsel, and otherwise move into executive session pursuant to public officers law 105(1)(f) to discuss matters leading to potential discipline of Buffalo City Cemetery. So because this is an executive session, the board needs to make that motion.
I like the motion is advised. We will come out
Thomas,
of
second,
that. Hold on.
okay. Sorry.
We will, we're not adjourning the regular meeting. We'll come back out and report and then take action on the applications that are in front of us. So stay tuned. Right? Thank you.
Wait, Tom, do you second?
He seconded.
Okay.
All in favor?
Okay.
Aye. Motion carries.
All right, we're back on recording.
All right. Meeting, we are,
We forgot to do this, you should move to exit non-public session. Forgot to do this next door.
oh, we've exited and, you wanna do it?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion
Tom
to
just
exit,
seconded.
non-public session. Second, all in favor, we've exited non-public session. We had a discussion with council, about issues around,
Yours?
Forest Lawn and our,
What's up?
audits. We took no action.
Nathan, what's up?
Did you unmute or did you?
We're unmuted.
Okay, good.
Okay, thank you.
Um,
So we took no action. We're now here to consider the applications of Evergreen Lawn Hilltop Cemetery and Forest Lawn Cemetery. as to a merger. You want to take them together, or isn't that, move one at a
I'm
time?
doing one at a time. Hold on, let me just make sure. Oh shoot, I'm opening the wrong pieces of these. Sorry. Apologies in advance for how long these write-ups are. There are a lot of exhibits, and I need to open the right part to find my report. So we're doing Evergreen Lawn, which is also, by the way, known as Bloomingdale. So in short, Bloomingdale's it's a 7.4 acre cemetery. It's also in Erie County. It's in the town of Newstead. It's the closest existing forest lawn cemeteries are 20 miles from it, and it sort of provides a land bridge between those cemeteries and Attica Forest Hill Cemetery in Wyoming County. Geographically, it makes sense. Bloomingdale's what's driving the merger on the Bloomingdale side is that the board is aging out and has been unable, despite diligent efforts, to identify replacement members, and they feel that the cemetery would be in better hands with under Forest Lawns auspices than trying to struggle on as an independent entity or end up being taken over by the town of Newstead one way or another. We took a look at it essentially. Whoa, and I'm at the bottom of my report and can't find what I was reading. Essentially, we took a look at this one. Bloomingdale does have some money. Looking for the numbers, and has generally more often than not been profitable. For Forest Lawn's story, as it's been with all of these mergers, is that a combination of a professional sales staff, website, and better publicity will increase sales at all these cemeteries. I don't think they're going to, notwithstanding their suggestions, I don't think they can decrease expenses here, but I don't think that really matters. They also will clearly increase the cemetery's investment income on its funds. In this one, Clarence Fillmore, the next one's a little bit different. In this one, I think there's very little upside to Forest Lawn on the merger, but there's even less downside. Because it's a relatively small operation, relatively small cemetery, relatively small amounts of money, but because of that, even a small net positive change could make a big difference in terms as a percentage of profitability. And if there's no reason, our view is if there really aren't compelling reasons that would counsel against merger. These are two independent boards that reached an independent decision to merge, and we're not inclined to oppose that. I don't know if anybody has any questions on specifics. Rob, I think I'll leave it to you to read exactly what we're recommending. Oh, sorry, I just want to correct the record on something. There's a long discussion on and clarify something as well. There's a long discussion in both of my reports on related party transactions. There's a little bit of information in there that's not current anymore, and probably wasn't current as of the date of these documents. I missed that when I updated the documents. Western New York Cemetery Services is no longer owned by Forest Lawn Vice President's son and wife. It's owned by his son and daughter-in-law. The ownership structure of Western New York has changed. Still a related party transaction, just in a slightly different way. And Craig Walcott is no longer a member of Forest Lawn's board. He is no longer a director, although he is still a vice president and obviously an officer. I'll add to that Forest Lawn has, in the course of our audit, I referenced that we had some questions. In the course of our audit, they have made some representations on how they're going to tighten their procurement procedures for for potential related party transactions. Full stop. Tighten their procurement procedures. Also, tighten their procedures for monitoring performance of related party contracts. That's still, it's something we haven't actually seen yet, because they've agreed to do it. I don't know that it's all going to take effect really until the year is over. Procurement happens, I think, in September. But with that, we're recommending approval in detail to be provided by council unless there are questions.
My only other question is really for public, is the process of the existing board in coming to this conclusion includes, discussions or notice to their lot owners and discussions about protections of lot owner interests in the future?
Yeah, so they did have a lot owners meeting on it. They actually had lot owners attend that meeting. I'm not finding, my report is too long, so I can't find the vote. But I remember the vote being overwhelmingly for, I don't remember, one was unanimous, one had one or two dissenters. I don't remember which is which. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Oh, this one was 8-0. So they didn't have that many lot owners, but they were unanimous in voting to approve it. The statute requires both broad notification to lot owners and certain protections for lot owners of the non-surviving cemetery post-merger.
Right.
And Forest Lawns made the representations required. They did it in kind of a separate document, which confused me a bit, but they've made the requisite representations under the statute that they will protect those interests.
The cemeteries have indicated they've received the approval of the Erie County Legislature already, so that's taken care of. I did ask the cemeteries to make slight revisions to the proposed certificate of mergers to reflect the new entities that they've since merged with since they originally drafted the first one. They've done so. That revised certificate of merger is what is attached to this proposed resolution. Would you like me to read the proposed resolution for the board?
I would.
Okay.
Aesthetic.
The New York Cemetery Board has reviewed the materials submitted by Buffalo City Cemetery, the Forest Lawn Group, number 15-027, and Evergreen Cemetery Association, Bloomingdale, number 15-024, to merge pursuant to not-for-profit corporation law 1506-D, and subject to the approval of the Office of the Attorney General or Supreme Court, hereby resolves that the board approves the annex certificate of merger pursuant to not-for-profit corporation law 909 and 404E, and the board recommends approval of the merger pursuant to not-for-profit corporation law 1506-D, subdivision A. Any questions on that proposed merger? Proposed resolution?
No, we recommend means we make that record and pass it along to the Attorney General.
Right.
And to the court.
Yeah, and so the approval language is specific to 404. The recommend approval is specific to 1506-D. That's just the way the statutes are written. So I borrowed that language from what the legislature set forth.
Any questions?
No questions.
Motion has been made. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor of the merger application? Aye.
Aye.
The merger of Evergreen Lawn Hilltop Cemetery and Forest Lawn Cemetery is approved. We have another application from Clarence Fillmore Cemetery and Forest Lawn Cemeteries for a merger.
Correct. So Clarence Fillmore is 12.5 acres. It's also situated between their existing cemeteries and Attica, although I will note that I think this one is, my report doesn't make this clear enough, I think this one is actually a lot closer in Clarence to a couple of its existing properties. I'm thinking Gethsemane and Williamsville are probably very close to there. So 20 miles might actually be incorrect, it might be less than that. But it's in the same, Clarence and Williamsville are more or less the same region of Erie County. One's on one end, one's on the other end. Excuse me. So in this case, the big difference, I misspoke, by the way, this one was also approved by Clarence's lot owners unanimously, but a very small number, 6 of them showed up at the meeting. The biggest difference between this one and Evergreen Lawn, Bloomingdale, is that I believe Clarence has had a very sweet deal for maintenance. Over the years, that deal is not going to be able to continue. They are going to have to replace the person who's currently providing the maintenance, it's gonna dramatically increase their costs. And they, if anything, have had more trouble than Bloomingdale recruiting in their attempts to recruit new board members, and how likely their current board could still stay on and remain involved. The other big difference is Clarence is sitting on a lot of money. So on the one hand, one might think that that would mean they should be able to recruit board members who could run it passively, but on the other hand, but they haven't been able to. On the other hand, there is clear upside to Forest Lawn in completing this merger, because they would take that money, which is almost $700,000, probably, given what the market has done between I wrote this report and now, that money might very well be $700,000. They would be taking that and adding it to their permanent maintenance funds and unrestricted funds, and it will benefit all of the Forest Lawn's properties. Even when you have $31 million in the banks, $700,000 is in fact real money. So there's definite clear upside to Forest Lawn. For Clarence Fillmore, the upside is mostly in that they know where their maintenance is going to be coming from, and they know there's going to be someone to run this as a not-for-profit cemetery corporation in perpetuity.
Okay, Rob?
As before, they've already secured the approval of the Erie County Legislature, so I have not reflected that in the proposed resolution. I will read this proposed resolution out loud. The New York State Cemetery Board has reviewed the materials submitted by Buffalo City Cemetery, the Forest Lawn Group, number 15-027, and Clarence Fillmore Cemetery Association, number 15-009, to merge pursuant to not-for-profit corporation law 1506-D, and subject to the approval of the Office of the Attorney General or Supreme Court, hereby resolves that the board approves the annex certificate of merger pursuant to not-for-profit corporation law sections 909 and 404E, and the board recommends approval of the merger pursuant to not-for-profit corporation law 1506-D. Subdivision A.
Motion made, second?
I'll second.
I'll just make a comment here. I suppose I can make it somewhere else, but we continue to face, I don't know if I want to say crisis, but significant challenges to many of our rural cemeteries in terms of sustainability. The ability to merge with other cemeteries is one option to help with sustainability, not the only. Our increased efforts to help cemeteries recruit new board members, our training, a variety of things, our efforts to make sure that we meet the moment. But I just want to make, this is one option, not the only option. I think the staff have reviewed it to make sure that it's in the best interest of both cemeteries. We don't want Forest Lawn to be unduly burdened by doing it, and we certainly don't want lot owners or future lot owners to be disadvantaged because of the merger with a larger entity. We think we've got protections in place. Obviously, the boards themselves made independent decisions. So I guess I'm saying this. I think this is a good thing, but it's not the only tool in the toolbox, and it doesn't solve and won't solve the challenges that we face in terms of keeping cemeteries in the non-for-profit, community-based mode that we want. So we have a motion on the table. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. The application for Clarence Fillmore Cemetery and Forest Lawn Cemetery Group is approved. Our next cemetery board meeting is scheduled for February 13th. And we also always invite public comment for issues that have been on the board's agenda or that could be before the board. Is there anybody online that would like to speak to the board, address the board about issues? That being done, is there anybody here that would like to talk to the board?
Sure. David Fleming from the New York State Association of Cemeteries.
Welcome.
thanks very much for the work today. I would like to just follow up with what Director Polishuk was talking about earlier in the meeting. And that is, we want to be helpful in getting out any template documents to all of our members and put them on our website associated with publication. That's been an ongoing issue for I think 28 years or so that I've been doing this, that there have been changes, certainly in statute and then also changes in what was a good notice versus a not so good notice. So this is something that, in particular, very small cemeteries in upstate New York desperately need that assistance by having form documents that they can just fill in for publication, because they're not relying on anyone else other than their investigators who are doing a good job, but who also have other responsibilities. So if we could get those out to our members, happy to disseminate those.
Great, no, come a long way on that, but that's obviously been a good strategy, so. Anybody else wishing to address the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion I'll make a motion to adjourn the January meeting. Second, all in favor? Aye, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.